Why Mosin's Rifle Defeated Nagants. A century-old drama of steel, politics, and state interests. Hey folks, before you dive into this story, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. This isn't just a tale about two rifles. It's the drama of the century. A drama of intrigue, patriotism, money, and broken destinies. A story where the real truth is hidden behind the dry lines of protocols. And a decision that changed the course of wars was made in stuffy offices amidst lies and half-truths. Stay until the end. A shocking conclusion awaits you in the finale. One that will flip your understanding of Russian weapons on its head. And don't forget to write in the comments whose side you would have been on, the brilliant Belgians or the stubborn Russian captains. Why Mosin's three-line rifle beat Nagant's Belgian. The story of a choice that shaped the face of two world wars. Imagine the Russian Empire at the end of the 19th century. Vast, slow-moving, but realizing that the world around it was changing rapidly. Falling behind in armaments wasn't just a line in a report. It was a death sentence for the next war. The army was still armed with burden rifles using black powder, while in Europe, soldiers were already working the bolts of magazine rifles loaded with smokeless cartridges. Panic set in, but a quiet, bureaucratic one. And at this moment, two main protagonists step onto the stage of our drama. The humble Russian Captain Sergei Ivanovich Mosin and the brilliant, already world-famous Belgian gunsmith Léon Nagant. This wasn't just an argument about whose bolt was stronger. It was a clash of two universes. On one side, a foreign genius offering a ready-made, refined, nearly perfect product. On the other, a homegrown talent whose system was raw with flaws, but it was our own. And between them, commissions, generals, intrigue, state interests, and millions in state treasury rubles. Do you think the best one won? Oh, that's a naive misconception. The one that was more needed won. And now I'll tell you how and why it happened, fleshing out every fact with my thoughts and forays into history. Act 1. Reconnaissance in force. How it all really began. By the autumn of 1890, the fate of the Russian soldier for the next half-century was being decided in the offices of the Commission for Developing a Model Small-Caliber Rifle. The field had narrowed to three contenders: two Mosin rifles, single-shot and magazine-fed, and one, Nagant's magazine rifle. The very presence of Mosin's single-shot model was a cry from the soul of conservative military men. Imagine their arguments. A magazine is complicated. A soldier will shoot all his cartridges in a minute. The mechanism will jam in a trench. It's expensive. These objections thundered not only in Russia but in general staffs across Europe. Switching to a magazine rifle was as revolutionary as the later switch to automatic weapons. And so, the Commission, understanding the historical responsibility, drew up a test program. Reading it today takes your breath away with its thoroughness. It's almost German pedantry. It wasn't just shoot at targets. It was total destruction. For example, the endurance test. Soldiers with loaded rifles had to run 300 paces, throw the weapon on the ground 4 times, and in winter on frozen ground. And then, fire the remaining cartridges. And so on, 20 times for each rifle. They simulated real combat conditions. Falling from a horse, throws during a bayonet charge, dirt, impacts. For the tests, they selected not the best elite companies but ordinary ones with shooters of varying skill. It was an honest, almost brutal approach. And here comes the first plot twist. The trials began on December 21st, 1890, but the Belgian Nagant was late. His first 72 rifles out of 300 ordered arrived only on January 8, 1891. This fact alone makes you think. A foreign supplier, albeit a genius one, missed the deadline. And in an arms race, time is the main resource. While he was shipping his rifles, Russian soldiers were already breaking Mosin systems and the old Berdanka. Act 2. The troops' verdict. Why the soldiers chose Nagant. The Company of the Lifeguards 1st Rifle Battalion, the Company of the Lifeguards Izmailovsky Regiment, the Company of the Lifeguards Pavlovsky Regiment, the Company of the 147th Samara Infantry Regiment, all of them, having gone through the hell of operational tests, delivered a unanimous verdict. And it was a shock for patriots. Everyone chose the magazine rifle over the single-shot one. But of the two magazine rifles, all as one, preferred the Belgian Nagant's rifle. Let's listen to their voices, coming through the centuries from the texts of those very motivated conclusions. This isn't the opinion of generals. This is the voice of the Russian soldier and officer who would live and die with this weapon. Lifeguards Izmailovsky Regiment. Captain Mosin's system, in the form it exists, cannot be adopted by the troops. Consequently, the magazine rifle of the foreigner Nagant remains. They found only two insignificant flaws in Nagant's design, concluding it was a completely finished rifle and could be accepted by the troops in an extreme case without any improvements. Lifeguards Pavlovsky Regiment gave an argument devastating for Mosin. Jams in Nagant's rifle were cleared quickly. In Mosin's, required opening the magazine and using a ramrod. The bolt, the cutoff mechanism, the feeding mechanism, all were stronger in Nagant's. Mosin's rifle simply broke more often. Lifeguard's 1st Rifle Battalion was even harsher. Captain Mosin's bolt has the appearance of something unfinished, loose, while Nagant's gives the impression of a single hole. That's a key phrase. A soldier feels a weapon in his gut. Wholeness, reliability, that's what breeds trust in a trench under fire. 147th Samara Infantry Regiment. Summarized. Nagant's rifle is made more precisely and finished. It seemed fate was decided. The Belgian Mercedes beat the Russian Zaporozhets. On March 12, 1891, a large commission reviewed the results. And here the most interesting part begins. Mosin's rifle isn't even discussed. They only talk about the minor, easily correctable flaws of Nagant's. But someone remembers, Mosin was supposed to present an improved model. And he is given a chance, a last chance. Emergency, abbreviated tests of 30 new Mosin rifles against 30 Nagants are held, from March 13th to 18th. Only 5 days. After this, the final vote. And here is the result. 14 people for Nagant, 10 for Mosin. Victory for the Belgian? Oh no. Act 3. Behind-the-scenes games, how they overturned the result. Here, higher state interests come into play. The vote is a formality. Immediately after it, 2 generals who voted for Nagant, Chagin and Ridiger, make a caveat. They say, we voted based only on the tests, but if we talk about production, and then the magical words sound, greater cheapness and ease of manufacture of Captain Mosin's rifle. On March 20th, an emergency meeting. It is chaired by General Notbeck, who voted for Mosin. He immediately states that the troop commissions did not have the right to a decisive vote. And pay attention, the artillery department's small arms section, having reviewed everything, suddenly declares that it would be difficult to give positive preference to one system over the other. How so? Just a week ago, soldiers were shouting about Nagant's clear superiority, and now they are equalized. And here, the main arguments come to the fore, outweighing all the opinions of line officers. Economics, my dear, the inspector of arms factories states. Mosin's rifle will be cheaper. Factories can start its mass production 3 to 4 months earlier, as its design is more familiar to them. Nagant's, however, is a complex, unfamiliar mechanism. Think about it. The Russian Empire, lagging in industrialization, makes a choice in favor of simplicity and cheapness. This is a key point. It's ours. Mosin's system can be manufactured with greater tolerances, meaning less precision. This forgives the errors of imperfect production. The ideal precision required for Nagant's rifle might have been beyond the capabilities of Russian factories on the needed scale. The final nail. It's hammered in by General Chebyshev, a professor at the Artillery Academy. He takes dry statistics, feed jams due to the magazine in Mosin's 217, in Nagant's 557, and he makes a sensational conclusion. Captain Mosin's system had a tremendous advantage. Wait, but the soldiers said jams in Nagant's were easier to clear. This is a manipulation of numbers without context. But the conclusion is already drawn. It sounds weighty and scientific. The outcome is predetermined. Mosin's rifle is recommended for adoption. But what kind of Mosin rifle is it now? Recall, one critical flaw, the unreliable trigger mechanism, was proposed to be fixed by adopting the design of the trigger mechanism from the foreigner Nagant's model. Yes, indeed, the final three-line rifle incorporated elements from Nagant's design, the famous leaf spring in the magazine feeder, for example, and Léon Nagant received 200,000 rubles in compensation for his patents. Thus, a hybrid was born, officially named the three-line rifle, Model 1891. Mosin's name was attached to it only in Soviet times, during the peak of patriotic propaganda. Epilogue. Reflections on the map of history. What really won? So why did Mosin's rifle win? My analysis, based on history and economics, points to three main reasons, and only one of them is directly related to the weapon's quality. The first and main reason: national industrial security. Russia, at the end of the 19th century, was a country painfully aware of its technological dependence on the West. Adopting a foreign design for the entire army meant tying itself for decades to patents, blueprints, and possibly the supply of critical parts from abroad. It was bondage. Our own system, even a raw one, meant sovereignty. It meant jobs in our own factories in Tula, Izhevsk, Sestroretsk. It meant developing our own school of arms design. In the face of an impending world war, it was a matter of state survival. The second, cold economic calculation. The empire wasn't infinitely wealthy. Re-equipping an army of millions of bayonets was a Herculean financial task. Every penny counted. The simpler and cheaper to produce Mosin rifle saved the treasury millions and millions of rubles. That money could be invested in building a fleet, fortresses, developing artillery. It was a pragmatic, albeit harsh, economic choice. The third, good enough. Yes, Nagant's rifle was possibly better. But was it so much better that it was worth overpaying and complicating things? The tests showed that even Mosin's raw prototype worked. It could be polished, using the best ideas of the competitor, which they did. The result was a weapon that wasn't perfect but was indestructible, reparable, simple for the soldier and for mass production. It went through the Russo-Japanese War, World War I, the Civil War, the Winter War, and the Great Patriotic War. It became a symbol, a workhorse rifle. Did the Russian idea win? Partly, but to a greater extent, state necessity won. The story of the rifle selection is a classic example of how in big politics and big wars, the perfect is the enemy of the good. And good, delivered to the troops in time in the millions, will always defeat perfect, which arrived late, expensive, and from abroad. What do you think about this choice, friends? Was it justified at the cost of thousands of lives that might have been saved by more reliable weapons in the trenches of World War I? Or was it the only correct, strategic move for the empire? Write your opinion in the comments. I'll analyze the most interesting ones in the next video. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Ahead of us is an analysis of other legendary contests. Why did the Kalashnikov assault rifle defeat the Bulkin assault rifle? And is it true that the Colt defeated the Smith & Wesson only due to luck and marketing? Stay tuned. There will be more weapons, history, and heated debates.